Okay, hello, how are you? I hope you're well. Um, so we are here to finish with Act 4 from Macbeth. So let's continue from where we left. We have just heard and seen the apparitions, the four apparitions of the witches. Remember that there were only three, but Macbeth asks for an extra one. We know that he's very confident that no one and nothing can hurt him, although we also know that the witches are deceiving him. Yes, they are using equivocation and ambiguous truth, yes, to deceive him and to cause his um, final fatal destiny. Yes, I'm using alliteration there. Okay, so and the last thing that happened when we where we left off last class was that he asked someone to murder Macduff and his family. Yes, and so what we are going to analyze now is Macbeth Act 4, Scene 2, 5, The Castle of Macduff. Yes, we will find out that Macduff is not there, only his family is there. And we have this question, or if maybe he was corrupted, maybe he had second intentions. Yes, let me share with you the PowerPoint presentation so that we follow the scene and we read it together. This is Act 4, Scene 2. We're going to read from the very beginning. Yes, what had he done to make him fly the land? So she believes, Lady Macduff, yes, believes that Macduff has run away because he did something wrong. Because usually when someone runs away, it's because they have done something. Yes, and Ross says, you must have patience, madam. He had none, so he didn't have any patience. He left right away. His flight was madness. When our actions do not, our fears do make us traitors. Lovely phrase. Do you understand what it means? Yes, that when the things that we do not betray us, our own fears. Yes, fear is our biggest enemy. It's our traitor. Okay. So he was crazy. This is what she's trying to say is that Macduff was crazy to run away in such a way. Yes, because it made him look like a traitor. And this word traitor, Shakespeare places it on purpose because this is going to be one of the main topics of this thing. Yes, so bear in mind, highlight that word traitor and bear it in your mind. Yes. You know not, Ross says, you know not whether it was his wisdom, or his fear. Yes, you don't know whether he made this because he was taking a wise decision or if it was because of his fear. So don't judge him. Wisdom, Lady Macduff says, to leave his wife, to leave his babes, his mansion, and his titles in a place from whence himself does fly, he loves us not. So, of course, she's angry. She says, how can this be wisdom when he left us alone, his house, his family? And she's right. Yes, he shouldn't have left them alone. Yes, we will see now why. Well, we know that Macbeth. Here's where I start mixing all the names. Macbeth, Macduff. I know this will happen to you soon, so don't laugh at me. But we know that she's right. Yes, he shouldn't have left. Macduff shouldn't have left his family alone because we know what is coming now. Yes. And of course, she's angry that he left because she thinks he actually thinks that he doesn't love them anymore. He wants he wants the natural touch. Here, wants means that he missed that he lost the natural touch. Yes, he lost his affection for his family. For the poor wren, the most diminutive of birds, will fight her young ones in her nest against the owl. Yes, because of course it is an instinct for any father to protect his family, not to run away. Yes, so he lost the natural touch. Yeah, you know that loving when you become a mom or a dad, the first thing that you feel is love towards that person, and you know that you would do anything for them. But of course, Lady Macduff doesn't know that Macduff is trying to convince Malcolm. Remember, Malcolm was King Duncan's son, the one that is supposed to be the truthful King of Scotland. Yes, so um, he wants to convince Malcolm. We don't know that yet, but she doesn't know it, and of course she thinks that Macduff is a coward. Yes, all is the fear and nothing is the love. So he left because he is afraid. As little is the wisdom where the flight so runs against all reason. Rose, yes, would answer, let's read and then we analyze it. My dearest cause, I pray you school yourself, but for your husband he is noble, wise, judicious, and best knows the feats of the season. I dare not speak much further, but cruel are the times when we are traitors and do not know ourselves, when we hold rumour from what we fear, yet know not what we fear, but float upon a wild and violent sea, each way and none. I take my leave of you. Shall not be long, but I'll be here again. Things of the West will cease, or else climb upward to what they were before. My pretty cousin, blessing upon you. So here, Ross would say, I, "Cuss" is a short form for cousin. At that time, people would call each other cousin, just like today people call each other hey bro, or nosotros usamos el che. Yeah, so that was like a short form of calling her. I pray you, school yourself, teach yourself, control yourself, but fool your husband. So he's trying to make Macduff look nice. He's noble, wise, judicious. I dare not speak much further, so everyone is afraid. Yes, because of course everyone is afraid of Macbeth. Or maybe he's in a rush to leave because he knows that someone is coming to kill them. So he doesn't want to be there to witness that or to be in an uncomfortable situation. So he wants to run away because he's kind of in a rush. I dare not speak much further. Yes, I don't want to continue speaking. I can't speak anymore. But cruel are the times when we are traitors, do not know ourselves, when we hold rumor from what we fear, yet know not what we fear. Yes, so we create rumors out of the things we fear, but we are not certain what we are afraid of. Yes, a little confusing the language that he uses. Yes, um, but at the same time, it's beautiful. But float upon a wild and violent sea each way and none. So we are not sure of where we are going. These are confusing times. I take my leave of you, so I'm going to leave. Yes. So things will come up to a resolution eventually. Yes. So we may think that Ross is corrupted. Yes, you know that the word corruption is very interesting. There is a note, but you can barely see it. But the etymology of the word corruption it comes from the Latin. Yes, corruptus. Yes, it's pervert the meaning of or putrefy. Yes, it's unhealthy to decay, producing a strong and pleasant smell. So we may think that Ross is corrupted, meaning that somehow Macbeth has been able to um, influence the people that is around him. Is that Macbeth? Macbeth Ross is corrupted. And what does it mean that he is corrupted? That inside his person has been putrefied by the influence of Macbeth. Yes, have you ever known a person who has been corrupted by another person? Let's continue. Now, Lady Macbeth is going to have a conversation with her son. And this is one of the most beautiful scenes that Shakespeare has ever written, at least from my point of view. Yes, it's beautiful. We're going to skip a couple of lines. This is line 30. Lady Macduff says, Sirrah is young man. Your father is dead. Remember that dead is a synonym of absent. Yes, so your father is not here. Your father is dead. I'm telling you this because this is another important word. Yes, absence, death. Yes. And what will you do now? How will you live? So this is her mother, a mother having a conversation with her son. And she asks him, how are you going to live now that your father is dead? Yes. She means he's dead in the sense that he's not there physically present. Yes. And the son answers as birds do, mother. These answers are answers that only children can give. And this is amazing that Shakespeare has been able to place himself in the position of a child when he was writing. Yes, not every author is able to do that. What? With worms and flies? With what I get, I mean. So do they. Yes. So I will live on whatever is it that I get, just like birds that they eat worms and flies and whatever is it that they can get. Poor bird, thou'st never fear the net, nor lime the pitfall, nor the gin. Yes, so these lime, pitfall, gin are all methods of catching birds. Yes. Why should I, mother? Poor birds, they are not set for. My father is not dead, for all you are saying. So here his son is saying, I shouldn't be afraid because he's not actually dead. Yes, and Lady Macduff answers, yes, he's dead. How wilt thou do for a father? So how are you going to survive without a father? Nay, how will you do for a husband? So notice the question of the son. Yes, what he's saying is it isn't about me living without a father. It's about you living without a husband. Amazing. First of all, this is children usually answer with questions. So it's interesting that Shakespeare uses this interaction of questions to talk about to make up this conversation. Yes, and it's amazing the comebacks. It's amazing the comebacks that the son has. Yes, we believe that his son is maybe like Fleance. He's 11 or 12 years old. Yes. So yes, he's dead. How wilt thou do for a father? Nay, how will you do for a husband? Why, I can buy me 20 at any market. Then you buy them to sell again. So what the Lady Macduff is saying is, I can buy a husband anywhere. Yes. Then you buy them to sell them again. So you will get them so that you can get rid of them. Thou speakst with all thy wit, and yet in faith with wit enough for thee. So you are being too smart for your age. Yes. Was my father a traitor, mother? Remember how I told you that this word was important? What is a traitor? Yes, how can you define this? Because here the son is asking, was my son a traitor, mother? Aye, that he was. What is a traitor? Yes, so this is an honest question. And remember that when we talk about binary oppositions, we say that one word can be defined when we find the opposite of that word. So what would be the opposite word of traitor? Can you think of any word? If we should create here, how can we create here a binary opposition? Traitor versus, oh, there you go. I have just realized that you have it there in the PowerPoint presentation. Yes, loyalist. Yes, that would be the opposite word. Yes, loyalist versus traitor, or traitor versus loyalist. Yes, so let's pay attention. Let's have in mind that binary opposition, and let's continue reading this dialogue. So, what is a traitor? The son asks, and Lady Macduff answers, why? One that swears and lies. That means one that makes a promise and then breaks it. So the son ends up in a natural and obvious conclusion. And the old traitors that do so, everyone that does so is a traitor and must be hanged. So everyone that makes a promise and breaks it should be hanged. And must they all be hanged that swear and lie? So notice how he's always answering with a question. Everyone. Who must hang them? Who should hang these people? So Lady Macduff says, the honest men. And the son answers, then the liars and swearers are fools, for there are liars and swearers enough to beat the honest men and hang up them. So what the son is saying is that in the world, there are more liars and swearers than honest people. So swearers and liars should gather up and kill honest people so that they don't end up being executed. Yes. Now God help me, poor monkey, but how wilt thou do for a father? So here she continues, she insists on the question, oh my God, what are we going to do without your father? Yes, this is the kind of thing that I imagine that she's trying to say. Yes. If he were dead, the son continues, you would weep for him. So if he were dead, you are going to cry for him. If you would not, it were a good sign that I should quickly have a new father. So if you are not crying, that's a good signal, because you are going to get I am going to get a new father if you are not crying for him. Poor Butler, how thou talkest. So stop talking, yes. So here, I think before we continue, it is interesting to analyze this binary of loyalist versus traitor. Yes, notice how, in order to define what a traitor is, Lady Macduff needs to go to the word honest. Yes, so who is honest and who is a liar? Who is a traitor and who is a loyalist? Yes, so this is very interesting, because from the point of view of the son, he understands that almost everyone is a liar. Yes, in fact, who are the honest man? Who can say in the world, oh, I have never told a lie? So what he is doing, he is deconstructing, yes, this binary opposition of loyalist versus traitor. Because if we all lie and we all swear and we all break our promises, then we are all traitors and there are no loyalists. Yes, and in this way, we understand that fighting against each other is silly. It's pointless. Yes, polarization, it's pointless. Yes, black versus white, loyalist versus traitor. I have the truth. No, I have the truth. We should be able to understand each other's point of view and stop fighting. And in this way, we could reach an agreement. Well, we are talking about several things at the same time, but what I want you to understand is this is connected with Derrida's deconstruction, this notion that the limits between two words in a binary opposition are faded. Yes, they are not really clear, at least not here. Yes, loyalist versus traitor. Who is a traitor? Yes, if everyone that swears and lies is a traitor, then who isn't a traitor? That's the question. Yes, and who is going to execute traitors if there are no honest people in the world? Yes. So what I'm trying to make you think of is that we should be able to perceive the world in a different way. Yes, if you look around you, we are surrounded by binary oppositions. Yes, Kirchneristas versus Macristas, pro aborto, pro vida, amor versus odio, Boca versus River. So we are surrounded by these binary oppositions, these worlds that are unthinkable to join them somehow. So literature here, this text, is allowing us to reflect upon the fact that binary oppositions are not so crystal clear, that we shouldn't belong to this or that, Boca, River. Yes, and I'm of course, I'm not saying that people shouldn't have their beliefs, because I have my own beliefs and I will always have them, and I will not trade them for being in a gray zone. But it is important to be able to place ourselves in the place of the other. And it is important for us to be open enough to understand that somehow we have all been in both sides of the binary opposition. Yes. And once we understand that, we can be empathetic and we can be more understanding towards others. Okay? So there is a messenger that comes in, yes, and he warns Lady Macduff, someone is going to come and kill you. Okay? So we are going to skip this line. Yes. And okay, so what happens towards the end of this scene, that I have not included it in the PowerPoint, is that Lady Macduff and his son are murdered. Yes, one of them is killed on stage, and the other one, Lady Macduff, is killed off stage, but the son is killed on stage, and it's a terrible scene. I think this is the worst moment for Macbeth. We are all now against Macbeth. I think, I hope, yes, that we are all in favor of killing him right now. Yes, we don't want Macbeth to be the king anymore. No, because we see this attitude, at, because we see this attitude, how he kills a whole family because he's afraid. So this is terrible. This is what power does to people. Remember the phrase that Macbeth used, "Oh, dear wife, full of scorpions is my mind." So this is the result of that illness, that mentally ill mind. Yes. And this is connected with a chapter from the Bible that is in the New Testament, in Matthew, in one of the Gospels, Matthew chapter 2, this is connected with the slaughter of the innocents. Yes, remember the wise men, los Reyes Magos, they were asking for baby Jesus. They went to Herod, and they would ask him, "Where is the king that was born today?" referring to Jesus. And Herod was so afraid of this that he ordered the execution of all young male children up to 2 years, so as to avoid the loss of his throne. So this is based in history. Yes, it is not the first time that a king decides to kill a whole generation just because he's afraid. Yes, terrible. This is known as the slaughter of the innocents, and it has also happened in the book of Exodus, in the Old Testament, in the Bible. So this is very interesting. The slaughter of the innocents. The story is known by that name. So um, now we're going to go to a very brief extract. We're about to be finished. Come on, you can go on. It's a little bit that we need to continue, and I let you be. Yes, this is Act 4, Scene 3. It's just an extract. I want to show you, yes, Macbeth is in England. Remember that Malcolm, as soon as he finds out that his father has been murdered, he and Donalbain decide to run away. Yes, and Malcolm goes to England. So Macduff goes to ask Malcolm to come back and try to fight to get back his throne, because he is the rightful heir to the throne, so that they can restore order. Yes. So when Macduff goes and asks Malcolm um, to come back to Scotland and fight against Macbeth, Malcolm starts giving all sorts of excuses and saying, no, I'm not fit to be the king. Yes, so Macduff is, of course, very saddened by this situation. And then by the end, we discover that Malcolm was just, no, he goes like, he starts saying, no, I was trying to see what was your position, because I was afraid that you were going to kill me, so I was lying. I can be the perfect king, and I will go and I will fight against Macbeth. So I'm telling you how the story ends in this act. But before that, when Macduff is convinced that Malcolm is not going to help him, that he's not going to get back to England, he's not going to get back to Scotland to fight against Macbeth, notice how he describes Scotland and think of the imagery that he's using. What, as I read it, try to make this mental picture of how he describes the country, okay? So he says, bleed, bleed, poor country. Great tyranny, lay thou thy bases sure. For goodness dare not check thee, wear thou thy wrongs. The title is afeard. Fare thee well, Lord. I would not be the villain that thou think'st, for the whole space that's in the tyrant's grasp, and the rich is to boot. Okay, so here what he says is, bleed, bleed, poor country. Again, the theme of blood. Remember that we have talked about the themes of sleeplessness, yes, and the theme of blood here, yes. Bleed, bleed, poor country. So this idea that Scotland is a human body and it's bleeding and it's going to die. Yes, great tyranny, lay down thy base is sure. So go ahead and build your kingdom. For good people don't dare stand up to fight against this. Yes. The title is afeard. This means that Macbeth is safe as a king there. Nothing and no one can defeat him. Yes. And I love this phrase. Yes, I would not be the villain that thou thinkst. So I'm not the villain that you think I am. Yes. Sometimes people, we have conversations with people and we think that they are villains. Yes. And in this case, Macbeth is not the villain. How important it is in life to be able to distinguish between villains and people who are just trying to do their best, because this is what Macduff is doing. He left his family alone so that he could come and rescue his country. Yes, so he's not the villain that Malcolm thinks of. Yes. So Malcolm answers, be not offended. I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. Terrible description, yes. I'm sure that you were able to picture this image. Yes, we are seeing Scotland as a body, Yes, and it says, I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. The yoke es el yugo. El yugo es lo que le ponen a los caballos, a los camellos en realidad, para que puedan ir los dos al mismo tiempo, ¿sí? O para sostenerlo al carruaje. So I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day, a gash is added to her wounds. Terrible, yes. And this idea of yoke is connected with el yugo, it's connected with slavery, yes. I think without there would be hands uplifted in my right, and here from gracious England have I offer of goodly thousands. So the English had offered help, yes, to go and fight against Macbeth. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head, or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it had before, more suffer, and more sundry ways than ever by him that shall succeed. So even if I defeat Macbeth, I know my country is ill. My country has suffered a lot, and it's not the same country that it was before. So this is very interesting, and I want you to connect this to what we are living today. Malcolm decides to describe his country as a country that is ill, that is sick, that won't be possible to recover, at least not easily. How would you describe Argentina today? What imagery would you use? I won't give any examples. I will resist that temptation and I will let you think. And please get back to this when we get back to class or maybe in the comments. But no, I want to hear it from you. What metaphor, what imagery can we use to describe Argentina today? And how can we fix it? Can we fix it? At least the world that is around us, the Argentina that we can control, can we change that? Is our country ill? How can we make it better? These are all questions that are natural, and you know, this is the aim of literature. Literature is not about now in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks, we are going to have our final exam. You're going to have to answer questions. Literature is not about reading and writing down summaries. Okay, Macbeth, Act 1, happened this, that, and then in Act 2, this is what happened, and you make up a structure because you're going to study for the final exam. Literature is not about that. Literature is not about statements. Literature is not about summaries. Literature is about questions. What questions do come up from having read this play, at least a summary of it? What are the questions that are left hanging in our mind? What are the questions that are left there, you know, hanging, and we are wondering, okay, look at this guy, look at what ambition made to him. Yes, so some of the questions that I think of now is, for example, this one. Yes, what does my country look like? Is my country bleeding? Is there a way to fix it? How can I fix it? How can I fix something around me? If you ask me personally, I think this is Macbeth, you see? The Scottish play. Look, there's no one. I have got them. I'm so scared. It's evening. I don't know if you have noticed. Ay, Dios mío, chicos, se abrió la puerta sola. ¡Qué miedo! Bueno, son las 1 de la mañana y están todos durmiendo. Scottish. let's go on. So what questions does Macbeth leave you to think of? That's a question that may appear in the final exam, so think about it, okay? So let's continue. We are about to finish. This is another extract. Yes, this is Act 4, Scene 3. They continue speaking. They have a very long conversation, yes? And Malcolm has just described Macbeth. He says that he's terrible. Look at the words here. Oh no, sorry. He has not. So Malcolm and Macbeth have a very long conversation, and here in this part of the conversation that is towards the end, Malcolm is describing the characteristics right here from a good king. We are not going to read them, yes, because what he ends up saying is that he has none of those characteristics. I want to talk about the answer that Macduff gives to these statements by Malcolm. Yes, he says, "Oh, Scotland, Scotland." This is line 100. Yes, so this is a way of crying, "Oh, Scotland, oh, Scotland. If such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken." So if you know someone that has these characteristics, yes, tell me so, because we can go and ask, we can go and bring him, yes. And Macduff answers, "Fit to govern." And this is another question: who is fit to govern? Honestly, I can't answer. No, not to live. Oh, nation miserable. So what he's saying here is that you, Malcolm, you are not fit to govern, and you are not fit to live, because you are a despicable person. After everything that he has said, yes, that it was a lie. Remember that then he says, "Oh no, it was all a lie, because I was trying to see whether you were on Macbeth's side or on my side." But up to now, he's making Macduff believe that he's a terrible person. "Oh, nation miserable." So he continues describing the country with an untitled tyrant. Who is the untitled tyrant? Macbeth. "Bloody sceptred." Yes, the sceptred is a reference to el cetro. Yes, bloody sceptred. After he says the bloody sceptred, he continues providing other descriptions. And then if we go to line 111 towards the middle, it says, "Fare thee well." So he says goodbye. "These evils thou repeatest upon thyself had banished me from Scotland. All my breast thy hope ends here." So he's hopeless. Macduff is hopeless because he thinks now that there is no hope, because Malcolm was the only hope for him. Yes, but well, then the conversation will continue, and we see that Malcolm reveals his true self, and he says, "No, I will help you. I was just trying to make sure that you were not trying to play a trick on me, or to set me up." Yes, there is only one phrase that I want to say, because then there is a doctor that appears, and it is interesting that the country is described as being ill, yes, with this imagery of sickness, because remember that we talked about King Edward, yes, that he had the holy touch. So several times there will be references to medicine, doctors, because this country needs a doctor, yes. So finally, they decide to go and fight against Macbeth. So what we will see in Act 5 is how England, Malcolm, Macduff, everyone will go and fight against Macbeth. Okay, and well, we will see what happens. Okay, so I hope to see you next Monday, people.